Welcome. This is Kristen Crabtree with the Lance Edwards Group. We have a special treat for you today. We're interviewing a new apartment champion who is here to share his story about how he closed on his first multifamily deal since getting started with Lance's system. Please help me welcome Chris. Awesome, Chris. So I'm going to start just with the facts about his deal. So it's 8 units, and he did have some prior real estate experience, got interested in real estate because he was looking for passive income. His profit strategy is one of buy and hold, so not so much rehab, but buy. We'll probably wind up talking about that a little. He is in Parker, Colorado, and the deal is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Found it on LoopNet, liked it because the cash flow looked good, invested $60,000 of his own money and financed the rest with the bank. The property did need a little bit of work, and the profit earnings is about $10,000 per year. Does that sound like a good summary, Chris?
Yes, it does.
Okay, awesome. So before we get started, share with me a little about your personal and professional background.
Okay, so for professional work, I work in technology, and I have a good job. I like doing it, but as far as doing learned about passive income and learned about some real estate opportunities, and I tried fix and flips, and those didn't really work out so well. So I was looking more at more of a passive strategy there. And so I've been investing a little bit here and there with discovered self-directed IRAs. And so I've been using those. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to ride my home a little bit. And I used some of that money as well to go in and get into real estate that way.
Okay, great. Why did you start researching and pursuing multifamily investing?
So when you're looking at cash flow properties and with the way that the real estate market's been for a while with single family homes, the multifamilies are the ones that made the most sense. When you look at, trying to buy single family homes and make those cash flow, especially the rapid rising appreciation, that was very difficult to do. Overall, you could find some deals here and there, but overall, once you look at cash flow only, you're really looking at multifamily deals at that point to get your best returns.
Okay, and did you do any multifamily investing before you started working with Lance, or did it start with him?
Yeah, none at all.
Okay.
So previously I had done single family homes, and I still have one of my single family homes that is renting right now, and that's doing well. It doesn't match what you can do with the multifamily.
Great. So what are you trying to solve through real estate investing?
For me, it's somewhat of more of a retirement plan, if you will. So for me, it's, I've got a great job. I'm fortunate enough that, I make a good living, but, that doesn't last forever kind of thing. And so I'm looking at more alternatives of generating cash without having to work full time forever.
So it sounds like your financial situation before you began investing was already okay or pretty good.
Yeah, you would say it was already okay. So I wasn't trying to, it's more of the achieving future financial freedom to kind of live a solid life and have income, but not necessarily be having to work.
And do you have a specific financial goal?
Yeah. So my financial goal is to work towards matching my salary in terms of monthly reoccurring. right? And that's with padding. So with multifamily or with any kind of real estate business or anything that you invest in, you want to make sure that you can cover the expenses of those assets as well. And then what you have left over is what you can use. And so that's really the goal, is to match that to a point where I could walk away from my employment.
Okay, great. What would you say is your ultimate dream?
My ultimate dream. And what do you mean by that?
Well, so not even just necessarily the financial part, although it can include that, but kind of like the why that drives you.
um, that's a little bit more difficult to answer, because I guess I don't think of that so much. For me, it's just, I look down the road and I look at, what, kind of like you kind of look at and you know that you can't work forever, right? And so this is just really about planning for the future, whatever that brings. I don't really go through life with like, this is my goal at the end of the rainbow and I'm chasing that, right? I don't really go through life like that. I kind of take it as it comes, but I make plans to set myself up for success no matter what that future brings.
So talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So if a lot of people, they have to go with a goal in mind, with an end goal in mind, right? And it's like they're constantly striving for that. Um, I but then once you achieve that, then what, right? That becomes the next question. And so I've done that in my life. There's certainly been things I've gone after, but then once you achieve them, then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And you're constantly in this cycle of chasing the next thing. That's fine while you're building towards something. Once you get to a place of, when you keep trying to look beyond, keep looking beyond, it can be exhausting a little bit. So for me, and just maybe the way I think a little differently than a lot of people is, I've achieved a lot of things, and I'm working through real estate to achieve certain goals that I have. But the idea is that I'm going to achieve that goal to open up other opportunities later on in my life that I don't know what those other opportunities are going to be. So my goal is that I have the flexibility. Right now, my job doesn't have a lot of flexibility, right? I have to be in a certain area of the country, have to do certain work. And so I think that, once you kind of achieve that call it financial freedom, but what is the freedom? The freedom is, hey, I can, the next opportunity comes down the road, right? Whatever that is. I don't know what the next opportunity is, but if I have the freedom to move and I have the freedom to change things because I'm not tied to something else, then that's really what I'm working towards.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it just in case. I don't want to make assumptions.
Sure.
In what ways were you hoping real estate investing would change your life?
I think we covered a little bit of that. It's really a matter of being able to have income, diversify my sources of income, right? That's what it is. And there's a lot of talk about active versus passive income and that kind of thing. And I think the ultimate goal, I think, is to switch to a primarily passive income, and the active income becomes more of the extra. It becomes more of what you maybe want to do in life off to the side that may or may not make you money, but you can survive and live comfortably, perhaps, on the passive income.
Okay, great. So early on, I asked you if you had done any multifamily investing before Lance, and you said, no, absolutely not, blah, blah, blah. So where did you get stuck? Why did you seek help from Lance?
Well, I had originally purchased Lance's book, like this is a while ago. And so that got me interested in thinking about it. But, um, when you don't really think like that initially, right? When you think about real estate, the first, and maybe this is just, I don't think I'm alone in this, but I think most people, the first thing they think of is buying their own home, their own residence, right? And so I did that. And I really never thought about investing in real estate until I started learning about it, right? Picked up a couple of books, going, oh, well, that's an interesting idea, And in my life, I eventually started making enough money where that was possible, right? And so then you start with what you start with some single family homes, and I never really thought about multifamily. To me, that was like maybe further down the road. But eventually I got there, and through the help of, first of all, Lance's initial book, and then doing some of the training and things of like how that all works, I got more comfortable with the idea about doing that.
Okay, so you sought him out initially for the knowledge, just the skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What obstacles did you face when you were getting started?
Well, first of all, it was knowledge, right? This was a big deal to like try to even figure out. The other thing with my journey in particular is most of the real estate investing folks out there were talking fix and flips. And that is a daunting task to me. If you work all day long and then you got to go and work on a house or try to get contractors to do it. And then I found out, through kind of a trial and error that, you're also competing with people that do this full-time professionally, that trying to get contractor resources if you don't have the proper contacts. And it was, let's just put it this way, it's a lot harder than it was sold, if you will. And so when I started looking at buy and hold, that made more sense to me. And like I had said earlier, once you kind of shift that mindset to buy and hold, then you look at, well, in some areas of the country, a 8-unit building, for instance, is the same price as a single family home somewhere else. And so you start looking at that and you're like, well, I get 8 people, I get this. You start running the numbers, you start realizing that buying and holding a unit that has 5 or more units, a building that's 5 or more units, that's a different strategy than a 1 to 4 unit building in terms of financing, in terms of all kinds of things, right? And the way it's looked at and the way it's evaluated. And to me, the numbers made more sense by going into commercial real estate versus staying at the single family.
So, biggest challenge. What would you say has been your biggest challenge entering the market?
For me, it's always been, there's 2 things really. One's been time, right? Time has been a big factor. When I have a family, my kids have been young. They're finally starting to get older, and that's great. But when you spend a lot of time with family and things like that, you're not able to dedicate the amount of time that you perhaps would on a new adventure when you're balancing work and family life. So that was probably and continues to be one of my bigger struggles. The other one is just, the raising funds. So I still have yet to master that for myself. All my deals have been through my own money. because I just haven't been able or been very successful at trying to get other people to go into deals with me.
So why stick with it when you face these time and money, equity, raising money hurdles? Why'd you stick with it?
Like I said, I do believe that this is the right path for me. These I'm very interested in it, and just they're just hurdles that you would have with anything else, right? All life is a bunch of challenges you have to overcome. So, this is just the challenge of investing in real estate, in my view. So if you're dedicated to that, you're dedicated to working at it, then you accept those challenges and you work through them, and some days you overcome them, and some days you get set back by them a little bit, but you keep going.
Perfect. Um, so you mentioned spouse and family in regards to time. Have they been supportive, or were there any obstacles to overcome there?
Mostly supportive. You know, certainly. Not the obstacle is more of like, if you have two kids in sports and and they each have practice and they each have games, or they're in music, for instance, or anything like that. Those are the things that you want to go and attend. So you work, and then you go attend those things, right? And you don't have necessarily the opportunities always to put 10 hours a week into real estate, because you may only have two at your disposal, right? And that's just the way it goes.
How has investing in real estate impacted other areas of your life?
Um, well, certainly, it's opened my mind up to the possibilities of things, right? Um, Nobody in my family or my wife's family had ever done anything like this, and um, so for me, it's kind of like it's been an eye opener. Um, I've been teaching at least my older son. He's been kind of interested in this path as well, from an opportunity point of view. Just kind of explaining it to him, and explaining how things work. So I think, from that perspective, it's just a different way of thinking about what the possibilities are, and then trying to pass that along. Um, and then maybe he'll take it further, or something like that.
How has your financial situation changed as compared to when you started?
Um, I think it's changed for the better. Like I said, I am now officially making passive income on things, which is great. I'm still learning a lot as far as how to make it, better. But I think financially speaking, it's been really good. Um, I learned about self-directed IRAs. So from the time I switched some of my retirement money into that, I've actually seen that account grow a little bit faster than what it normally would have if I was just saving money there. Um, I've also learned about other kinds of investing with real estate as well, that I've been able to put that money into. So not just multifamily, for instance, but putting my money passively into other people's deals as well with that. And so it's been, like I said, it's been a journey, but I think with the financially speaking, I think it's all been moving in a more positive direction for me.
What did you hope would happen that hasn't?
Well, I think what I again, I think this goes back down to the challenges, right? you see other people's success stories. You see even Lance's success stories, right? And it seems like it should go faster, right? Um, but I think that the reason why for me it doesn't go faster is because of those two hurdles that I said before, right? I had making the time on a regular basis, and then being able to get other people involved, and those are the two things I haven't been able to achieve. So it's moving slower than probably I would like. But other than that, I have, like I said, I still count it as a success because I'm doing what I set out to do. I just maybe the velocity is not where I wanted it to be.
And what's happened that surprised you?
Um, Trying to think. That's a good question. I think one of the things that has surprised me a little bit is with my deal, and then maybe this is more cautionary than anything, is that there's more repairs than you think sometimes. You do the due diligence, you do all the things that you're taught to do to evaluate a deal, and you go into it, and everything's going along pretty good, and then things kind of go sideways a little bit. This needs replacing, or you had a bad tenant or something like that. And so those are always the little surprises that will pop up from time to time, that maybe you weren't counting on, right? And you learn kind of quickly that maybe not everybody treats things the way maybe you would treat them. And so you think, oh, this will be fine, this will work out, and then you end up having to have a turnover or something that you weren't really expecting to have to deal with. Those are just the little surprises that you get.
What excites you about the future and the possibilities it holds?
Particularly in real estate, you mean, or anything?
Anything.
Well, if I'm able to do what I set out to do, which there's no reason why I couldn't, right? For me, the possibilities are maybe more travel, like I said, a little bit more freedom to go do some of the things that maybe my wife and I want to go do later on in life. Those are kind of the things that I look forward to. And then from a real estate point of view, I look forward to adding more buildings and more units and growing that so that I can do the other things.
Do you have a specific goal regarding number of units, cash flow, anything like that?
I started with that, and like I said, the velocity didn't come right, and so I kind of stepped back from that a little bit, mostly because I kind of wanted to focus on my near-term successes and learning about some of these things, and I kind of felt like maybe I was being too aggressive for where I was right now, right? So, I mean, part of the challenge of having a job where you have a lot of things going on, right, is that you have to balance those things, and so I kind of took a step back from setting any hard goals on the real estate thing, and really trying to be more organic with it, I guess, if you will.
Okay. What strengths do you possess that you feel may have made this endeavor easier for you or helped you along the way?
I do think that my regular employment helped out a lot, because in my saving strategy through that, right? Because that gave me personal funds that I could get into this more easily than maybe somebody else. I certainly think that I've been to a number of trainings over the years, and certainly think that for some people, they're looking for real estate as like a quick fix to get out of whatever their situation is. And I never had the kind of that. I never had those situations. So it's both, an advantage and maybe a curse, right? Because the advantage is you do have some opportunity with the money that you have to go do these other things and invest in things that maybe some other people wouldn't. But the other thing is that you don't have the drive to maybe lift yourself out of some place. So it's those kind of balances that you look at.
Yeah. What personal characteristics worked against you in the beginning?
Probably still do a little bit. There's the I'm not. I guess I try to avoid narcissism a bit. So I don't like people like that, and I don't put myself in those positions and like advertise. I'm kind of quiet that way, and so that could be one of the things that generally holds me back from the raising money part of it, right?
So what's changed about sort of who you are since you started down this path, or in what ways do you think the process has made you a different person?
We talked about a little bit. It's more the opening of possibilities, like not being closed-minded, I guess, if you will. Like you can only do things this one way. Like I said, nobody in my family or my wife's family had ever done anything like this. So when you look at their traditional ways of investing money, it was always stock market, right? And to take, not only your own personal money, but to shift your retirement money out of a managed retirement account and put it into your own self-directed account. Now that's a big mental shift. And going and investing in your own stuff versus these more traditional avenues. I really think that's helped me grow as from that perspective of looking at things and understanding maybe even more about how the world kind of works in terms of like how you do some of these things, right? How you invest in buildings, right?
So has there been any, you talk about opening your mind to possibilities in terms of like different real estate strategies or investment strategies and that type of thing. But is there any way that opening of your mind has carried over into your personal life? Do you have any, stories or examples about how that has happened?
That's a tough one. I mean, in some ways, I kind of feel it's like one and the same, but in terms of like affecting, I think the root of your question is affecting other areas outside of investing, and it may have, right? I'm not entirely sure. That's kind of the situation, you don't really know. Maybe I have changed in one way or another, but maybe I'm not entirely sure where that area is. Does that make sense?
Yep. Did you discover anything about yourself that surprised you?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with no. I mean, that's a great question, but not necessarily.
So, we talked about how you're not the type to really like, put a big goal out there, but rather to leave yourself or create an environment in which you can take advantage of opportunities, I think is the way you put it. So given that, I still want you to imagine yourself 5 years from now. Okay. How has your life changed?
Well, 5 years from now. Well, 5 years from now, I won't. Actually, all the kids will have been out of the house by then. So that'll be a big change. See what else. Probably, like I said, I'll probably continue along this path of investing, and hopefully have grown my portfolio a bit. I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there. Like I said, I don't try to plan those kinds of things as much as I just try to plan for success as they come.
So what advice, last question, what
Sure.
advice do you have to offer others?
Stick with it. I did not jump in, with both feet and throw away everything and say, I'm going to be a real estate investor, right? And then, have it all blow up in my face, right? And everything was little baby steps here and there, learning about things, trying, like I said, like we said earlier in this interview, try a little bit of fix and flip, try different things, learn about new opportunities. And, I know there's other people out there kind of like myself where, they're going to try something and it's not going to work out for them. Right. And then you take a step back, but look at the other opportunities out there. Particularly if you're talking about real estate investing, there are a lot of different avenues in which you can be successful, and that you don't have to do it one way and only one way. And find what works for you, find what you're comfortable with, and just keep at it. And it won't disappoint once you find the right path for yourself.
Great. With Lance Edwards, this is Kristen Crabtree. Please join us again when we interview our next apartment champion. If you'd like to learn how you could be our next apartment champion, please call our office at 281-667-3638. You're only one deal away.